It's extra drama for Sweet Valley High number 33, Starting Over. Hi, of course it's me, Marissa Flaxbart, your host, back again with my cousins, Corrie Borgman and Megan Shattuck.
What?
I'm doing a real, radio disc jockey voice.
Traffic looking on the west side.
That's my new energy for Sweet Valley Diaries now. Hey. Well, so for extra drama, we just talk about extra stuff that we didn't get to talk about in the main episode, I mean. And one of the things that Megan mentioned something that she noticed, she wanted to clock.
Yes.
Or did clock and wanted to acknowledge.
Oh, I found the passage.
All right.
Mr. Wakefield nodded, his brow furrowed. With his dark hair, strong athletic build, and gentle brown eyes, he was an attractive man to have for a father, Elizabeth always thought.
Whoa.
That escalated quickly.
It did, because it's those last three words. Elizabeth always thought.
Not Elizabeth observed this one time.
Nor is it like the book is just telling us, the book has a third person, omniscient narrator that sees inside people's heads, sure, but the book could just be informing us that Ned Wakefield is hot.
Sure.
But no, the book puts it in Elizabeth's eyeballs.
Yeah.
Yes. Elizabeth, and then says that she thinks this way about her dad always.
Yes. Oh, and that's why I didn't remember the part about, after this it goes on to talk about the Judge Tyler conflict of interest that Ned Wakefield's dealing with. And I didn't remember that because it was just, this first part was so upsetting.
Your head was ringing.
I was pleased. I actually would say that the flips for me was almost true for me, that I was more focused on the judge, Ned Wakefield talk, because recently a friend of mine who is a lawyer was on the show, and I was trying to explain to him how every once in a while Ned Wakefield really goes on about how he is a lawyer and talks about lawyer things.
Yeah.
And
like this injunction.
Yeah. It's like the book is just desperately trying to give him some lines.
Yeah.
So it's like, what do dads that are lawyers talk about? And it also at one point refers to him being important as a lawyer. They really want to build him out. So one thing that I thought would kind of be appropriate, because it's one thing that I thought would be appropriate to talk about as it carries through both the A and B stories, is the idea of being a teenager and being concerned about getting in trouble with your parents. In the stories it materializes differently, right? For Jessica and Elizabeth, they're trying to keep a secret. And
right.
It's very much a thing of ask for forgiveness, not permission. Mm-hmm. We're going to try to pull one over on them.
I used to hate that term so much of beg for forgiveness and not permission. It's no, you should ask for permission. Now I'm totally in camp forgiveness instead.
Yeah. What about when you were growing up?
Yeah, when I was a kid, no, absolutely permission.
I think that my MO was always to try to make it so that it was as if nothing was wrong. If I could fix the problem myself.
Yeah.
If something went wrong, if I broke something or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
Rather than explaining what happened and saying, I'm sorry, let's fix it, I would just try to fix it first, and then I would never have to bring it up.
Oh, nice.
It didn't happen a lot. It didn't happen a lot, but which actually is exactly what Jessica does.
Yeah, that's
you
true.
would have repaired the washing machine on your own dime rather than admitting that you had a puppy in the basement.
Not only that, I would
Wouldn't
not
have called a repairman.
Yeah, so Jessica calls the repairman, and he's like, listen, lady, I got so many appointments, I can't come until Friday. I don't know what accent that is, but he does call her lady. He does say, listen, lady, to her. I would not have done that. I would have figured out how to fix it myself and fixed it myself, and then it would have been fixed right away, before mom and dad got home.
Right.
Yeah. And then it would have been no big deal.
Right.
And with YouTube these days, like, anybody can.
Yeah, now it would be easier than it would have. But I can imagine myself, like, at the, in our little study, with the dial-up modem or whatever, trying to find out, or pulling a book off the shelf and trying to figure it out.
How to repair
they can drive, taking it to the hardware store and be like, hey, I need a new one of these to do the thing.
Yeah.
How do I do that? I don't know. They could have been a lot more resourced, I think.
They could have been, although there's plenty of adults who wouldn't even be able to figure that out.
And they all live in Sweet Valley.
I don't have I'm making it sound like I was duplicitous. I don't have a lot of examples of this, but enough that I know that I did it. I have a very good driving record, but when I was a teenager, I definitely had some trouble bumping things. I never hit a car, but I would have we drove a minivan, so it was pretty big. But I can remember one time I was at an ATM, a drive-through ATM. It was at a bank, a small town bank that had one of those tubes that sucks up your deposit.
Yeah.
I don't know why I said small town. I guess big towns have those too. I just don't use them in my life.
But you went to the one in town.
Yeah, right.
Many.
And there was one of those short yellow posts that is blocking you. And I definitely scraped up against it. And I freaked out, but it was okay, all that has happened here is that there's yellow paint on the side of the car. And I remember going to my friend's house and finding a bunch of cleaner and just really working hard to scrub the yellow paint off of the van. And I did.
Yeah. Oh, that's great.
Yeah. And I don't, there might have still been some sort of evidence, but not enough that I needed to explain it. Or that's I could say,
nice job.
I ran into this post, Dad, I'm sorry, but look, it's not that bad.
It's very much like the puppy scenario.
Yeah.
Just show that
I got
really
this puppy.
That big of a deal.
But look, it's not that bad.
Now, you might think that makes me a Jessica, but I will have you know that Elizabeth doesn't come clean about this either.
No.
And the crazy thing about this plotline is that they never tell their parents that they were having this dog.
Yeah, I was surprised that they didn't at the end confess oh my god, this dog.
Robert's been here for a week and all he did was row the dishes washing.
It would have been easy to write it that way. And they all devolved into giggles and it was soon forgotten.
They all hug anyway. It was so wholesome. They could easily oh, Jessica, you're so Jessica.
There's a Labrador puppy involved.
Yeah, all is forgiven when there's a Labrador puppy.
So, Corrie, did you have a strategy?
I think my strategy was similar to yours.
You have a different element of your family dynamic in play, which is that Meghan and I are both only children.
Yes.
And you are the middle.
I am the middle
and
child,
the only girl.
And I have two brothers on either side. Well, one on either side, two brothers total. I often would try, if I did something, I would try to fix it so that I wouldn't get caught. I think that was probably my strategy. Don't get caught. And if you get caught, then you're kind of hosed. Because a lot of the things that I did...
Rubber hosed.
Oh my god!
A lot of the things I did were not hideable, especially if they involve vehicles. I did have a parking lot fender bender, with a dent in the car, and you can't pound it out. No. You can't. So you just have to come clean. But if you can go ahead and make it so it's never known, then that would be ideal.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe I was more of a Jessica when I was younger. There might have been some subterfuge. But when you're getting caught, if the writing's on the wall, then I guess you just have to fess up.
Yeah.
Great.
I think that is a fairly Jessica approach of jump into it and figure it out rather than have a plan for it.
Right.
Seems more like an Elizabethan thing to do.
So if it was a mug, it would say, don't get caught on the other side. And said, if you get caught, fess up.
You're hosed.
Yeah.
You get caught, you're hosed.
Rubber hose.
Might as well fess up. This is not a good mug anymore. It was pithy at one point, but now
it's got too many sides to the mug.
Yeah.
It's a very big mug.
I thought the other part of the parallel was kind of messed up, where they echoed the idea of Sally wanting to stay in her family and this puppy getting adopted by the family, and that was, I don't know, I thought that was kind of uncomfortable. They were basically comparing Sally to Prince Albert.
Yeah, there was at least one point in the book where the storylines were parallel, and it was like, oh, are they really comparing this girl who's been like parentless for 14 years to puppy?
Yeah, it's like
they sure are.
Yeah, it's like neither piece of that is messed up. It's as a literary device. It's like upsetting.
Yeah.
You're like, well, I mean, there's similar scenarios, but would I put them even remotely on the same scale?
Yeah, you can picture the ghostwriter just sort of clacking away, like, this is brilliant. What a brilliant transition. Even though these books don't require a brilliant transition.
Right.
Like, you could just switch from one to another.
This is a fine piece of literary genius.
Well,
how dare we belittle it?
I'm glad you feel that way. Maybe I'll ask you to read another someday.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope I have an hour and a half or two to spare.
Yeah. We determined that we were going to be spending as much time recording these episodes today as it took us to read the book. They're getting shorter, y'all. Well, Meghan and Corrie, thank you so much again.
Thanks for having us.
It was a joy. I'm glad that we were able to let the gladiators in on some of our cousinly joy.
Antics. Joy.
And antics. Yeah. And antics. Yeah.
Some antics.
We kept it together. Sort of. Except for when I was talking about Jeremy keeping it tight.
Tight.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks again to you both. And gladiators, we'll see you next week for book number 34, Forbidden Love. Ooh.
Pretty surprising because suddenly one of the Wakefields, I think, were talking about how attractive their dad was, and it was super creepy.
Yeah. Ned Wakefield is hot. There's no Mr. Collins in this book to objectify. Alice Wakefield looks like an older sister.
We don't have a Collins watch.
Yeah.
Aw.
I guess I should intro the episode, and then we'll just freeform. We'll just freeball it.
That's okay. We're cousins.